Alex was not a man who thrived on surprises. He liked plans, lists, and routines. His life in Nova Haven, a city floating among the stars, was orderly, precise, and comfortably predictable. Every morning, he brewed the same kind of coffee, checked the same notifications on his holo screen, and walked the same route to his small engineering workshop where he tinkered with gadgets and drones. Life was quiet, safe, and, most importantly, controllable. But on a Wednesday afternoon, everything changed with a simple message from Mara. "I need a boyfriend to meet my parents this weekend." Alex stared at the message. His first reaction was confusion. Was this a joke? Maybe Mara had meant a role-play game for some virtual reality challenge. But then the next message arrived almost immediately. "Not sleeping on the sofa, right?" Alex blinked. He did blink a lot when shocked. He blinked now. Twice. Then 3 times. Finally, he put the holo device down and rubbed his eyes. He read the messages again. He did not know Mara's parents very well. He knew that they were influential and slightly intimidating figures in interstellar diplomacy. Mara herself had always been charming, clever, and just a little mischievous. She could convince anyone of almost anything. And apparently, she could now convince Alex to pretend to be her boyfriend for a weekend. Alex ran a hand through his messy brown hair and muttered to himself, "I did not see this coming." He considered replying with his standard safe response. I'll think about it." But Mara had a way of reading hesitation as weakness. And he had learned the hard way that Mara never let things go once she decided something was important. So instead, he replied, "Not sleeping on the sofa. Right?" There was a pause, just a few seconds. But in the quiet apartment, it felt like minutes. Then Mara's reply popped up. "Good answer. Pick me up at 8 a.m. Saturday. Don't be late." Alex leaned back in his chair. 8 a.m. Saturday. That was in less than 2 days. He had 2 full days to become someone he was not. Someone charming, smooth, and impressively boyfriend material in the eyes of intergalactic diplomats. He closed his eyes and sighed. It was going to be a long couple of days. The first step was preparation. Alex had never considered himself a social person. He preferred machines and logic circuits to conversations and small talk. But he had a reputation for thinking fast under pressure and solving problems creatively. Maybe, just maybe, that could help him survive this weekend. He called his AI assistant, Juno, a sleek, glowing orb that floated beside him and managed everything from his calendar to experimental drone tests. "Juno," Alex said, trying to sound calm, "I have an emergency. I need a crash course in boyfriending." Juno's voice was smooth, metallic but friendly. "Define boyfriending." Alex rolled his eyes. "You know, being someone's partner for a weekend. Charm, manners, intelligence, humor, the works. My friend's parents are complicated." Juno floated closer, light pulsing brighter. "Complicated parents? In a human context, I am to assume they will judge you on social skills, emotional intelligence, and adherence to tradition. In an interstellar context, also beware of alien protocols." Alex groaned. "Exactly. I have 2 days. Make a plan." The AI chirped happily. Acknowledged. Initiating human charm protocol. Step 1. Appearance and dress. Step 2. Etiquette and small talk. Step 3. Problem-solving showcase. Step 4. Genuine humor. Alex laughed despite the stress. Optional heroism? Optional, but highly recommended if interacting with interstellar diplomats. Historical data shows humans gain respect in cross-species relations when they solve unexpected problems creatively. Alex nodded. The next 2 days were a whirlwind. Alex tried on suits he had never worn before, practiced his smile in the mirror, and even rehearsed conversations he might have with Mara's parents. He learned the difference between polite curiosity and nosiness, the right way to compliment an alien's shimmering scales without sounding creepy, and how to joke in a way that made someone laugh instead of feeling insulted. Mara watched from the sidelines, secretly amused. She had always known Alex was smart and resourceful, but seeing him fumble, improvise, and yet find solutions was entertaining. She didn't interfere, except for the occasional wink when he made a particularly awkward mistake. By Friday evening, Alex felt tired but slightly more confident. He had a mental checklist. Smile naturally. Compliment without overdoing it. Have at least 3 stories of personal achievement ready. Remember not to insult or offend any species. Keep calm if something goes wrong. He still had one concern. Juno. What if I fail? Probability of total failure is low. Probability of minor social missteps, 87%. Recommended strategy: honesty and creativity. Alex sighed. 87%. That's not comforting. Humans have a unique advantage, Juno reminded him. They improvise under pressure. They solve problems that rigid logic cannot. You have 2 days to master preparation. That is sufficient for baseline success. Your ingenuity will carry you through unexpected events. Alex nodded slowly. He liked being reminded that being human sometimes meant having an edge over AI, even advanced ones like Juno. Saturday morning arrived. Alex dressed carefully in a dark suit, the kind that made him look serious, yet approachable. He checked himself in the mirror, straightened his tie, and tried to remember everything he had learned. Then he walked to Mara's apartment. She opened the door with a bright smile, dressed casually but stylishly, as if she had been ready for this moment all along. You look acceptable, she teased. Alex raised an eyebrow. Acceptable? High praise, she said with a wink. Now, come on. We don't want to be late. They arrived at Mara's family estate, a floating mansion orbiting a peaceful gas giant. The structure was massive, sleek, and full of strange architectural angles that defied gravity in some places. Humans mingled with aliens in the courtyard, and the air buzzed with polite conversations in multiple languages. Alex felt a flutter of nerves. This was not his element. But Mara squeezed his hand. You'll do fine, she said. Just be you. Me? You mean the guy who almost panicked at a text message yesterday? Mara laughed. Exactly. That guy. He smiled faintly. Maybe he could do this. Maybe being human, messy, clever, and adaptable was enough. The first encounter was a small test. Mara's parents appeared, taller than Alex expected, with a mix of human and alien features that made them look intimidating yet elegant. The first parent's eyes sparkled with curiosity. And you are? Alex straightened up. Alex. It's a pleasure to meet you. They studied him, their expressions unreadable. Alex felt his heart rate increase, but he remembered Juno's advice. Calm, polite, and ready to improvise. And then, in a small but human moment, he cracked a joke. It was simple, a little awkward, but it made Mara's father smile. Just a flicker. But it was enough. Alex realized then that perhaps this weekend would not be about pretending to be perfect. It would be about showing who he was: human, flawed, clever, and ready to rise to a challenge. And as they walked into the mansion, Alex felt a strange thrill. He had no idea what awaited him in the next hours or the next days, but he was ready to face it. After all, if there was one thing humans were good at, it was surviving and thriving in unexpected situations. And this weekend promised to be full of the unexpected. After the unexpected text from Mara, Alex's life had become a whirlwind. He was not just preparing to meet her parents, he was preparing to survive them. And in a city like Nova Haven, where humans, aliens, and advanced AI coexisted, surviving was more complicated than he had imagined. Saturday was approaching fast, and Alex realized he had only one full day left to become someone who could charm interstellar diplomats without making a disastrous impression. He looked at himself in the mirror and sighed. The man staring back at him looked nervous, slightly pale, and completely unprepared. "Juno," Alex muttered. "We need a plan that will turn me into the perfect boyfriend overnight." Juno floated closer, its soft blue light pulsing like a heartbeat. "Define perfect boyfriend." Alex rubbed his temples. "Charming, clever, polite, funny. Someone who can survive a weekend with alien diplomats without breaking anything or offending anyone." Juno's light flickered. "Acknowledged. Step 1. Training montage. Step 2. Reality stress test. Step 3. Weekend survival." Alex groaned. "A montage? Do we have time for a montage?" "Montage duration, 24 hours. Probability of human success, 73% if fully engaged." "Let's begin." The first challenge was appearance. Alex had never cared much about his wardrobe, preferring comfort and utility over style. But in a high-stakes diplomatic setting, appearances mattered. Juno projected a holographic fashion interface, displaying dozens of outfit combinations with analysis for each. Alex tried on one suit after another, each more uncomfortable than the last. The first one made him feel like a stiff robot. The second looked sharp but made his shoulders feel too broad. The third was perfect, but the pants were tight enough to restrict circulation. Finally, Juno analyzed his posture. Recommendation: adjust stance by 3 degrees, slightly tilt chin, and smile naturally. Avoid forced expressions. Alex practiced in front of the mirror. "Natural smile," he muttered. "I can do natural. I can fake it. Naturally." By late afternoon, he had perfected his appearance, or at least as much as a human could under AI supervision. His hair was neat but not stiff. His suit was comfortable but stylish. And he even managed to tie a perfect tie knot on the first try. "Step 1 complete," Juno announced. Step 2. Etiquette. Etiquette proved far more complicated. Alex had always relied on logic, not social finesse, and diplomacy, especially interstellar diplomacy, followed rules he had never learned. Mara's parents were not just humans, they were a mix of species, each with its own customs. Juno displayed a holographic guide. Alien greeting protocols. Species A prefers bowing. Species B prefers nodding. Species C prefers a gentle touch on the forearm. Human etiquette. Polite handshakes. Acceptable. Humor. Human humor may be misinterpreted by non-humans. R. 1. Each. 2. Alex rubbed his forehead. "So, basically, don't screw up." Juno's light flickered like an amused wink. "Do not underestimate your human advantage." Improvisation. For the next several hours, Alex practiced introductions, greetings, and conversation starters. He memorized small details about Mara's family, like her mother's love for anti-gravity gardening and her father's fascination with quantum computing. He even learned a few phrases in alien languages, simple greetings and compliments, nothing too advanced. By evening, he could enter a room, greet anyone politely, compliment them without sounding insincere, and exit gracefully without tripping over cultural norms. It was exhausting, but Alex could already feel the difference. He was no longer a fumbling, nervous guest. He was becoming someone who could navigate an intergalactic social gathering. The next challenge was humor. Alex had never been the funny type. His jokes usually involved puns about circuits or failed experiments, which were funny to himself, but rarely to others. Humor is critical, Juno explained. Humans bond through laughter. Diplomats respond positively to well-timed humor. Failure may result in awkwardness, but success can create allies. Alex practiced jokes in front of a mirror, then in front of Juno, who simulated alien and human responses. Some jokes fell flat, eliciting simulated silence. Others worked surprisingly well, even causing Juno to emit an approximated chuckle. By the end of the night, Alex had a list of 3 reliable jokes, 2 light-hearted stories about his engineering experiments, and 1 clever anecdote that involved quick thinking and problem-solving, a story he hoped would showcase the human ability to improvise under pressure. But perhaps the most important training was problem-solving under pressure. Mara's parents were not ordinary parents, they were interstellar diplomats. Situations could escalate quickly, and Alex knew he had to be prepared for anything, from a misbehaving household AI to a cultural misunderstanding that could spiral out of control. Juno set up a series of simulations. Scenario 1. A robotic servant spills anti-gravity water on the floor. How do you react without offending anyone? Scenario 2. A minor alien language misunderstanding threatens to insult a guest. Resolve diplomatically. Scenario 3. Unexpected challenge. One parent's experimental drone locks onto you as a target. Diffuse. Without panic. Alex ran through each simulation, thinking fast and acting carefully. He improvised solutions humans would naturally come up with, something Juno noted was rare, even among sophisticated AI. Each time, he succeeded not perfectly, but well enough. He realized that humans had an edge. Creativity under stress. AI could calculate probabilities and follow logic, but humans could adapt, improvise, and charm in ways machines could not. By midnight, Alex was exhausted. His mind was buzzing with information, jokes, greetings, and potential conversational pitfalls. But beneath the fatigue, there was a spark of excitement. He was learning not just how to survive a weekend, but how to thrive in a situation that had seemed impossible just 2 days ago. Mara, observing quietly from a corner, smiled. She had never expected Alex to take the challenge so seriously and succeed. There was a moment of admiration mixed with amusement as she watched him practice a bow in front of a mirror, muttering alien greetings to himself. "You look ridiculous," she whispered. "I know," Alex said, straightening up quickly. "But I'm going to charm your parents, even if I have to look ridiculous doing it." Mara laughed. "That's the spirit." The next morning, Alex's final preparation was simple. Rest, review, and breathe. He double-checked his suit, rehearsed his jokes one last time, and reminded himself that being human was not a weakness, it was a strength. His ability to improvise, to empathize, and to think creatively would carry him through the weekend. "Humans thrive under pressure," Juno said, almost cheerfully. Alex nodded. "I hope you're right." Alex nodded. I hope you're right." The real test, of course, would begin in just a few hours. Mara's parents were waiting. The mansion was waiting. And somewhere in the sprawling, orbiting estate, a series of unexpected events was already in motion, ready to test every skill he had learned in the past 2 days. As Alex and Mara prepared to leave for the estate, he felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. He was stepping into a world that demanded charm, intelligence, humor, and quick thinking. He was about to meet not just her parents, but a complex, interstellar society that would judge him by his actions, words, and ability to handle surprises. And somehow, Alex felt ready. Because humans, he realized, were remarkable in ways no AI or alien could fully predict. Humans could improvise. Humans could think outside the box. And humans could rise to challenges, no matter how impossible they seemed. This weekend, Alex knew, would test all of those skills. And somehow, deep down, he was excited to see if he could survive, and maybe even impress Mara's parents. Alex and Mara approached the sprawling estate that floated gracefully above the swirling blue-green clouds of the gas giant Lumerous 5. The mansion was an architectural marvel, a combination of sleek human design and alien geometry that seemed to defy the laws of gravity. Sections of the building floated independently, connected by translucent bridges, while glimmering walkways twisted in impossible angles. It was beautiful and intimidating. Alex adjusted his suit nervously, tugging at the cuffs as he stared at the entryway. Mara glanced at him and smiled. "Relax. You've trained. You can do this." "I hope training is enough," Alex muttered, "because that place looks like it could eat me alive." Mara laughed, looping her arm through his. "Then we'll be eaten alive together. Now, let's go meet the parents." The security system, a sophisticated AI known as Lyra, scanned them as they approached. A soft hum filled the air. "Welcome, Mara, Vera, and companion," Lyra announced in a melodic voice. "Access granted. Please proceed." Alex took a deep breath. Step 1. Survive the greeting. Inside, the foyer was breathtaking. Holographic lights floated in geometric patterns across the high ceiling, and the walls shimmered with colors that changed depending on the viewer's angle. Aliens and humans mingled quietly in small groups, sipping drinks that floated in mid-air thanks to localized gravity fields. And then, they appeared. Mara's parents. Her mother, Selene, was tall, elegant, and unmistakably human, but her eyes glimmered with an unusual depth, an otherworldly awareness that suggested she saw more than she let on. Her father, Kale, had subtle alien features, silver-toned skin, sharp angular cheekbones, and eyes that flickered like tiny stars. Both exuded a quiet authority that made Alex's stomach tighten. Mara squeezed his hand and whispered, "Remember, smile. Be confident." Alex nodded, though his heart raced. The first moment was critical. Introductions. Celine's voice was calm, almost musical. "And you are?" Alex straightened, remembered his rehearsed posture, and said. Kale's eyes studied him for a long, silent moment. Alex held his breath, imagining every possible social faux pas. But then, Kale inclined his head slightly. A nod. A simple gesture, but it was acknowledgement. Celine's lips curved into a faint smile. Charming, yet cautious. Interesting. Alex allowed himself a tiny internal victory. One small human gesture, a combination of confidence and politeness, was already working. The first challenge of the weekend came quickly. As they moved toward the main dining area, one of the mansion's service drones zoomed by, carrying a tray of floating appetizers. In a blink, the drone malfunctioned, spinning out of control and sending several anti-gravity dishes tumbling toward a group of young aliens. Alex reacted without thinking. Using his human reflexes, he leaped forward, catching one of the dishes mid-air. The plate wobbled dangerously, but he managed to steady it and hand it back to the drone. Selene and Kale observed quietly, their expressions unreadable. Mara's face was alight with amusement. "Nice save," she whispered. Juno, floating nearby, let out a tiny electronic beep of approval. Human improvisation successful. Probability of social approval increasing. Alex felt a rush of satisfaction. Humans, he realized, had an instinctive ability to act in unpredictable situations, something AI, and even aliens, who relied heavily on strict protocols, often struggled with. Dinner was a test of etiquette, humor, and diplomacy all at once. The table was a long, floating platform, seemingly held up by invisible energy fields. Glasses hovered above the surface, and the food itself seemed to shimmer, each dish carefully prepared to appeal to multiple species. The first conversation starter came from Kale. "Alex, I hear you're an engineer. Have you ever worked on zero-gravity construction projects?" Alex smiled, recalling a recent project he had completed. Yes, actually, I developed a drone system for assembling satellite modules in orbit. It required precise timing, spatial awareness, and a lot of problem-solving when things inevitably went wrong. KL raised an eyebrow. Problem-solving? That is critical. How did you handle unforeseen malfunctions? Alex leaned in slightly, feeling a surge of confidence. Improvisation. Machines follow logic perfectly, but the universe doesn't always. Sometimes you need a human touch, a creative solution that no program could predict. That's what I enjoy most about engineering. Celine nodded, clearly impressed. A human advantage. Resourcefulness in action. Alex felt his confidence grow. This was it. Small moments of ingenuity were already earning him respect. Next came humor. Mara nudged him gently. Time for the jokes, she whispered. Alex cleared his throat. Why did the robot cross the space station? He asked. Kyle tilted his head slightly. I do not know. Why? To recharge its batteries. There was a pause. Then Celine chuckled, low and warm. Mara giggled. Even a few of the nearby aliens tilted their heads in amusement. It wasn't a roaring laugh, but it was enough. Clever, Kale said, a hint of a smile crossing his face. You have charm. Unexpected, yet effective. Alex felt a small victory. Charm, humor, and ingenuity were working together to create an impression. But the true test came after dinner. The mansion's AI announced a surprise cultural demonstration in the central atrium. It turned out that Mara's parents had arranged a series of challenges to observe how Alex would interact with their extended family and the mansion itself. The first challenge: navigating a zero-gravity obstacle course. Alex had trained for situations involving precision and movement. But this was entirely new. Platforms shifted, gravity fluctuated, and Mara's younger cousin, a mischievous alien with 4 arms, kept playfully tagging him as he moved. Alex adapted quickly. He leapt, grabbed floating handles, and used momentum to glide across platforms. A small misstep sent him spinning briefly, but he twisted mid-air and landed on a safe platform. Mara clapped, and even Kale's eyes twinkled with appreciation. You humans are remarkable, Kale said quietly to Celine. Alex, panting slightly, realized he was beginning to enjoy the challenge. Humans thrived in unpredictability, after all, and this was proof. His instincts, quick thinking, and willingness to try, even when it might fail, set him apart. The next challenge tested diplomacy. A minor misunderstanding occurred when one of the aliens mispronounced a term and inadvertently insulted Celine. The tension rose instantly, and everyone froze, waiting to see how Alex would respond. He stepped forward calmly. I think what they meant was... He paused to consider. Something positive. Their words were not meant to offend. In fact, it shows they value our discussion enough to try speaking in our language. Celine's expression softened. KL nodded. A human solution. Gentle, logical, and empathetic. Very well handled. Even the offending alien relaxed, and the situation diffused smoothly. Alex smiled internally. Improvisation and empathy, 2 distinctly human traits, had saved the moment. By the end of the day, Alex had survived multiple challenges: mishandled drones, floating dishes, alien etiquette, cultural demonstrations, and delicate social diplomacy. He had made Mara proud, impressed her parents, and even found himself enjoying the thrill of high-stakes interaction. As they walked back to their quarters in the mansion, Mara teased, "Not bad, for someone who almost panicked at a text message 2 days ago." Alex chuckled, adjusting his tie. I have to admit, this is more fun than I expected. Humans really do thrive under pressure. Juno floated beside him, its light glowing warmly. Affirmative. Probability of successful integration with Mara's parents. High. Human ingenuity and charm continue to prove effective. Alex smiled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. The weekend was far from over. But he had already demonstrated that being human, clever, adaptable, and sometimes unpredictable could succeed where rigid logic alone might fail. And as he looked up at the shimmering mansion under the twin moons of Lumeris 5, he realized one more thing. He was beginning to feel like he belonged. Not because he had memorized rules or rehearsed jokes perfectly, but because he had acted like himself, and his humanity had shone through every challenge. Tomorrow would bring more tests, more surprises, and more opportunities to prove his worth. But tonight, Alex allowed himself a quiet victory. He had survived the arrival, impressed her parents, and even enjoyed the adventure along the way. For the first time in his life, Alex felt ready to embrace the unexpected, knowing that humans, messy, clever, and resourceful, could thrive anywhere, even in the orbit of a gas giant among aliens. And somewhere in the mansion, he knew, Mara was smiling. Sunday morning dawned with the soft glow of Lumeris 5's twin moons reflecting through the mansion's floating windows. Alex woke early, still feeling the lingering thrill of yesterday's challenges. He had survived Mara's parents' tests, navigated zero-gravity obstacles, diffused tense social situations, and even earned the faintest smiles from KL and Selene. For someone who had almost panicked at a text message 2 days ago, this was nothing short of a triumph. Yet, Alex knew that the weekend wasn't over. There was still one final tradition to experience before they could call it a success. Mara had mentioned it vaguely the night before. Something about the sofa. Alex gulped. The sofa? He asked Juno, who hovered nearby. Correct. End of weekend tradition, Juno confirmed. Mara's parents practice a ceremonial observation of guests from the sofa. Cultural significance. High. Social importance. Extreme. Probability of misunderstanding. Low, if properly handled. Alex nodded slowly. He wasn't sure what to expect, but at this point, he trusted Juno and his own instincts. If he could handle zero-gravity drones and alien etiquette, surely a sofa wasn't impossible. By mid-morning, the family gathered in the central lounge. The sofa, a large floating platform cushioned with shimmering materials, hovered slightly above the floor. It was inviting yet intimidating in its ceremonial prominence. Selene gestured toward Alex. You may join us on the sofa. 1. Alex froze for a moment. This wasn't what he expected. In most human households, being asked to sleep on the sofa might feel like punishment. But Mara's mother smiled warmly. It is tradition. Guests observe and share in the family stories from this vantage point. Alex felt a rush of relief mixed with amusement. He had been worried for nothing. This wasn't a test of endurance or obedience. It was a sign of respect. He carefully floated onto the sofa, settling himself comfortably. Mara sat beside him, her arm brushing against his. This is different, Alex whispered. Mara laughed softly. Welcome to the family tradition. You're officially part of the weekend now. As the morning unfolded, Mara's parents began the storytelling ritual. Each member of the family, human and alien alike, shared tales from past adventures, diplomatic missions, and even humorous mishaps in far-off systems. Alex listened intently, laughing where appropriate, and occasionally chiming in with thoughtful observations or clever anecdotes from his own experiences. He noticed something remarkable. Sitting on the sofa allowed him to connect with Mara's family in ways that standing or walking around could not. They treated him not as an outsider, but as part of the circle. Every story, every laugh, every shared glance deepened his sense of belonging. Even Kale, who had been distant at first, leaned forward slightly, a flicker of warmth in his starry eyes. You think differently, adapt quickly, and yet remain sincere. That is rare, even among our own kind. Alex felt a swell of pride. After all the preparation, the training, the improvisation, he had not just survived, he had impressed them. His humanity, with all its creativity, empathy, and humor, had carried him through. Midway through the ritual, an unexpected challenge appeared. One of the mansion's floating data spheres, a type of interactive archive, suddenly spun out of control, projecting a holographic storm of images and sounds. Several younger aliens shrieked in alarm as the lights flashed unpredictably. Alex acted instinctively. He reached toward the sphere, guided it gently into a stable orbit, and deactivated the chaotic sequence. The room fell silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in applause and laughter. Celine smiled, clearly impressed. It seems our human guest has not only charm, but courage and quick thinking. Kale nodded. Indeed. A rare combination, resourceful, adaptable, and composed under pressure. This is the essence of what makes humans remarkable. Alex laughed quietly to himself. He had survived drones, etiquette, obstacles, and now, a holographic storm. Humans really could thrive anywhere, he realized. After the excitement settled, Mara leaned close. You did really well, she whispered. I think they genuinely like you. Alex felt a warmth spread through him. Honestly, I think I like them too. They're intimidating, but in a good way. And sitting here, hearing their stories, I feel like I belong. Somehow. Mara smiled. That's the point. Humans can surprise people with their perspective, their humor, and their heart. You've proven that this weekend. For the first time, Alex felt truly confident. The nervous, unsure man who had received that text 2 days ago was gone. In his place was someone who had faced challenges, adapted, and earned genuine respect. He had not only survived the weekend but had become part of something bigger than himself, a family, a community, a world of interstellar connections. The final hours of the weekend were peaceful. Mara's parents shared advice, encouragement, and stories about past guests. Alex listened, laughed, and even contributed small insights from his own life. Every word, every action, reinforced the lesson he had been learning all weekend. Being human was a gift. Creativity, empathy, humor, and quick thinking were tools no AI or alien could fully replicate. And then came the sofa twist. Celine leaned toward Alex. As part of the tradition, you will sleep on the sofa tonight. Alex froze for a moment. He had hoped the night would end with him in a proper guest room. Mara leaned over and whispered, Don't worry. It's not a punishment. This is an honor. You get to participate fully in the final family ritual, observing and reflecting before sleep. Alex exhaled slowly. He understood now. This wasn't about discomfort, it was about inclusion, about respect, about connecting in a meaningful way. He carefully settled in, feeling the soft cushions conform around him. Mara joined him briefly, sharing a small smile before heading to her own room. Alex felt a sense of peace. He was part of the family now, not as a visitor, but as someone who had earned his place. As he drifted toward sleep, Alex reflected on the weekend. He thought of the challenges, the zero-gravity obstacles, the drones, the etiquette tests, the minor diplomatic misunderstandings. He thought of the moments of improvisation, the jokes that landed, the stories shared, and the laughter he had earned. More than anything, he realized that being human was not about perfection. It was about adaptability, empathy, and courage. It was about stepping into the unknown and trusting that your creativity and heart would guide you through. And in that moment, floating on the sofa under the soft glow of alien moons, Alex felt proud. Not just for surviving, but for thriving. He had demonstrated that humans could rise to challenges no matter how strange or intimidating, and that sometimes, a little humor and ingenuity could make the impossible seem simple. The last thought before sleep took him was a simple one. Humans really could do anything. The next morning, Mara and her parents gathered once more to see Alex off. Celine smiled warmly. "You have exceeded expectations. Your humanity has shown through in every action. We are glad to have you as part of this weekend. And part of our family circle." "In a way," KL nodded, adding, "Your ability to adapt, improvise, and empathize has proven invaluable. You are a credit to your species." Alex felt a swell of pride. He shook their hands, or, in KL's case, a careful bow that respected alien tradition, and smiled. "Thank you. I couldn't have done it without, well, me. And a little guidance from my AI friend." Mara squeezed his hand. "See? Not sleeping on the sofa, after all." "Sort of. But it turned out better than you imagined, didn't it?" Alex laughed. "Better than I imagined. Much better. Much better." As they walked toward the docking bay, Alex realized that the weekend had changed him. He had learned, adapted, and grown, all while navigating a world of aliens, diplomacy, and high-pressure situations. And he knew that his humanity, creative, funny, adaptable, would always be his greatest advantage. For Alex, the weekend had been more than a test. It had been a reminder. Humans were remarkable, capable, and capable of thriving anywhere, even in a floating mansion, orbiting a gas giant, among aliens who could have been intimidating, and under the gaze of diplomats whose standards seemed impossible to meet. And somewhere deep inside, Alex knew one more truth. The unexpected challenges, the small victories, the laughter, and even the sofa twist. These were the things that made life worth living. Humans could survive. Humans could thrive. Humans could, with courage, creativity, and humor, leave a mark on worlds far beyond their own. And Alex? He had just done it.